Hey everybody, welcome back to another live over on the channel. Excited that you guys could join us today. I'm going to, as always, check the audio to make sure we sound okay, and hopefully you guys can hear me. So, join us today. I'm going to, as always, check. All right. So if the audio sounds better or worse, just let me know, and we can always adjust it. I'm going to turn the music off, and let me know. Hey, David. Good evening. Good evening. Hey, what's going on, Coach Texasita? He said, David, is that you know lightning bolts for flames? All right. So I appreciate everybody being here. So as you can see, the title says basically what the hell is happening with the house market. As far as, thank you, Dave. He said, sounds better now. Okay, thank you. And so I'm just going to talk about, I don't know where you guys are currently located at. If you are, what state you're in, if you're seeing any type of property taxes soaring, if you're seeing anything as far as home insurance, cost insurance soaring. We know that has been the case over the last several years. And we're going to jump right into it. If you have anything to say, let me know. If not, we will just have a great discussion over here. Also, oh, hey, what's going on with that? Also, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you are watching the video live or if you're watching the replay, don't forget to hit that like button. And then when the video is over, if you want to, you can come and do some hype points. It will be a shooting star underneath the video sometime, not every time. Coach Exita said, wait, hey. All right, so let's jump right into, as I always like to do over here, just to kind of give us an update on what's happening in the mortgage rates. If you guys are in the market right now, as far as looking at houses, hold on real quick, let me see. I'm going to change this thing. Uh-oh, I just accidentally exited off of my thing, sorry. If you are in a housing market right now, looking at housing, if you currently going under contract, or if you're trying to go under contract and you're locking in the rate, we're going to check out the rates right now, so you guys can see what rates are at. And I had to put the screen back up because I accidentally clicked off of the screen. And we're going to get right down to today. Happy Sunday to everybody. Happy Sunday. Hopefully we won't freeze because my computer's been acting crazy lately. Coach sees it gathering my chestnuts. Hey, what's going on, Corey? Thanks for joining us. Happy Sunday. Hopefully you guys are having good weather here in Florida. Hopefully in Colorado, Coach Texita having good weather. And then Omaha, Nebraska, David, hopefully you guys are enjoying the weather as well. All right. So here we go when it comes to the mortgage rate. Again, if you're currently in the housing market looking to buy a house, again, this is Mortgage Daily News that we're going to pull these rates from. These are the national average rates, in that this is where it's at nationally on an average basis. However, your mortgage rate could be higher, could be lower, depending on different factors that make up your file with the mortgage lender. So we have conventional 30-year fixes at 6.63, 15-year conventionals at 6.16, the jump is at 683, the ARM is at 630, the FHA is at 6.25, and the VA is at 6.26. As you guys know, rates are going up and down. However, they have been hovering when it comes to conventional in the 6.5, the 7% like range per se, as fluctuating between that, and then with the FHA, it's hovering between like low sixes, mid sixes, and the same thing with the VA loans. Again, like I told you guys, good way to predict how how the rates might go would be looking at, I know this might be not so easy, but this 10-year treasury up here, as you can see, it's positive right now. It's the green, and then the UMBS, which is the Uniform Mortgage-Backed Security, 30-year 5. It's negative right now, however, it's a low negative 0.02. So I'm predicting, and I could be wrong because come tomorrow when the market opens up, things could change. But I'm predicting that rates will kind of stay within 6.6, 6.6. I won't go that far just from looking at this. And it might trend down a little bit, maybe to 6.2, but I don't think it'll go off the 6.3, 6.2, 6.4 range come tomorrow. However, rates are ever changing because of everything going on in the world currently. All right, so we'll get off of that, and we are going to go the next. David said it's hot, mid-90s. Okay, it's hot over in Nebraska. He said, Coach Texita, only 90s, 98. Or wow, you guys are feeling there. It's only I feel like it might be like 80, or I don't know. I could be wrong. But all right, so now let's hop into the conversation. So there's a couple things I want to kind of touch on first. I want to get on to, before we kind of hop into like property taxes and everything, I want to touch on, if you guys are in the market right now looking for new construction, just be mindful as far as, you know, talking to the builders and seeing how things are going. I don't want to scare you from buying new construction. However, you guys remember that when they are building some of these houses, sometimes the materials are not taken care of properly. So if you're building a new construction right now, I would say if you have the time, it's always good to come back and forth and check on how the process is going, outside of course, you bring in home inspector in after, possibly during the process of the new construction being built, and of course the final stage as well. You have to talk to the builder, because I know sometimes builders, they only want certain home inspectors to come in, have to be licensed with the state, blah, 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 and every home inspector might not be licensed with the state, depending on where you're at, because maybe your state requires some of them to be licensed, I don't know. However, because of that, I want to talk about this real quick, and then let me know your thoughts, and we will move on to the next part. Right, so this is if you're looking for construction right now, and this is something. So this is talk about the mold issues that happened recently with Horton new construction sites, as far as them having material out in the weather elements. That's why I said you guys kind of show up on site at the process of your house being built to make sure your materials are being stored correctly. So let's check it out and let me know your thoughts.
Exactly where Josh Hobbin and his family want to be. It's not under these conditions.
So I think we first noticed elevated humidity within probably 2 to 3 weeks of moving into the house.
The family moved in April. As summer set in, thermostats registered up to 95% humidity on the hottest day, as dehumidifiers run 24/7.
The highest on those has reached over 90%, and we continuously pull 2 gallons of water out of each dehumidifier daily.
And then there's these holes in the ceiling of the house, exposing moisture had been building up on the HVAC piping.
Believe it or not, it was all bubbled up. That's why this paint is coming off like that. So it was bubbled up from the water dripping through it.
And where there was water, they'd soon find mold inside the walls, like where this massive chunk is cut out. These holes mark where he tested moisture levels, which measured at 23%.
You can do your own research on what 23% moisture in a wall does.
For a while, Hobbin thought they were the only ones dealing with issues like this, but they weren't.
Vent here, it has mold that's been growing on it. That's actually what they did the swab on.
Ashley Mills quickly saw a dripping vent in her guest bathroom become covered in mold. She reported it to her D.R. Horton warranty representative immediately.
He came out, he looked at it, he sprayed some kills over it, and that was that.
So Mills ordered a mold test. The report she got back showed several kinds of mold in her bathroom at abnormally high levels. Hoppin's report shows something similar.
Mold is mold, you know, so whether it was a high danger.
So as you guys know, everywhere there's always going to be mold spores, right? However, we don't want to accumulate a high risk of mold, black mold, any type of additional mold inside the house. And typically, most people don't assume that there could be any possible mold in a new construction home. So that's why I say it's always great to have these things tested out or treated beforehand. If you are going through a home inspection currently, buying a new construction, maybe have a mold test done. Even if you're in a resale situation, have a mold test done. Again, there's always going to be mold. There's going to be some type of spores of mold in the air, because we as people, we take baths, right? That humidity in the bathroom, even though we have those fans there for ventilation to kind of suck up that humidity, sometimes they don't work properly, sometimes they're not installed properly, and because of that, they're not consuming or sucking up that moisture. But then also we mop our floors, right? We clean up, we mop, we do different things in our house. We in the kitchen, you know, we wash dishes, we have a dishwasher, we have different type of things in which water kind of runs through the house. So you got to be very mindful to make sure if you're buying a home, especially new construction, because I feel like a lot of people feel like it's new construction, I don't need to go and get any of these inspections done. The builder told me that they had their own inspector come in there and look at it. And then you buy this house and you find out just a year or two later or a couple months later that there is some mold issues, and mold is not good for you, of course, as a respiratory and systems and everything like that. So
Dangerous mold, or, even if it's at a low level, I mean, that low level could always grow to be more than what it is.
Mills said her family has been left with a noticeable increase in respiratory issues and a lingering concern that the mold may not only be in one little bathroom.
Is there more than we know about that's growing up in there? Is it in the insulation? If there's any, is there, is it getting on the wood?
All right, so that's just a short little story. If you want to know a little bit more about it, it is, of course, concerning mold. I just wanted to let you know that's one of the hitting home threats that's exposed. Be very mindful of mold, especially if you're buying new construction. Corey said it's raining in Florida. Okay, so you guys are getting the rain right now. Let's see. Kotex, he said, never had a mold issue. Then again, never lived in anything built after 1950. Okay. He said, botulism, I guess I'm saying it right, hopefully I'm saying it right, is also everywhere, been getting ready to can. Okay. Yeah, so it's like all these things, like you said, it's everywhere, the mold. Also, I guess you could say radon. It's all these different elements, right, that are everywhere in the world. So when you are buying a house or you're in a house, even if you're living in an apartment, you should still have these things kind of tested if possible. I know most time if you're living in an apartment or you're renting from somebody, most of the landlords or management companies don't want to do these extra preventative measures. And as years go on, people probably don't realize that they're having health problems or issues, and it kind of might have stemmed from you living in these spaces that you never kind of investigated or looked into. All right, because at the end of the day, these are houses. It has wood. Most of them are built from wood. Even if it's a prefab house, they're built in factories, but water can still seep in anywhere, right? Through the roofs, through the sides of the walls. Sometimes some of our walls might have pests in them. If you live in, people don't realize that, but in Georgia, sometimes we get possums that come in through like the walls and mice and different things. So there are definitely issues that happen in houses, and it's not to scare people from houses, from buying a house or living in a house, but it can happen even if you're not in a house, even if you're in an apartment, even if you're anywhere you're at, right? Because we have to remember we're not susceptible to nature, the elements around us as far as living in any type of structures. Clark, does Georgia have high radon levels? Yeah, so Georgia, depending on where you're at, has a higher radon level than some areas. So the thing about Georgia is that we, especially when you come into Atlanta, we have a lot of clay, and because we're in the we have different parts of Georgia, like northern Georgia is like more mountains, rocky rocks, and as you come closer to like Atlanta, you have Stone Mountain. So Stone Mountain is actually a big exposed granite rock, and if you guys don't know, granite actually gives off a lot of radon when it's cracked or things, or it's kind of shaked or moved or whatever. So because of that, we do have a higher radon level than most other places. So it's always great, especially if you're in Georgia, to have radon tests done. And also the person who does the radon will typically say maybe every 2 years you should kind of go back and just have it done again. Or you can get some of the new construction houses will have like a mitigation system for radon and everything in it as well. But yes, Georgia has a nice concentration of radon depending on what part you're in, but you should always look in Georgia because we have that clay, that clay dirt, that rock, all that stuff, depending on what parts of Georgia you're in. Kotex, he said, okay, you said Colorado has a nice high thing of radon as well. Oh, wow. Nebraska has high radon, high taxes, high insurance rates. Yeah, we're going to talk about the taxes and all that as well, because if you guys don't know, Georgia, if you are in Georgia, and I don't know how it's going to other states, but a lot of our counties are now raising the taxes, and they're raising it based off of the millage rates. And so because of how the houses are now kind of flattening off as far as the appreciation, depending on where you're at in Georgia, the appreciation is kind of flattening, or we're seeing a little of the houses kind of taking a tumble when it comes to prices and price reductions. And so now the town, as far as assessing properties, they can't get the money off of this, the price point of the properties. So now they're doing things as far as raising the millage rate. And a lot of them are saying they haven't raised in the last couple of years due to the pandemic, due to COVID and everything. So because of that, now they're taking that way to raise the property taxes, because they're like, hey, if we want our city to keep growing, if we want these new developments to come to the city, and if we want to pay for the police, for different things. If you guys want to break this sector of the county into a different city per se inside this county, city inside the county, then we have to pay for the fire department, the police department. So because of that, they're raising property taxes. So we're going to touch on that. But definitely, David, high taxes, high insurance, and the radon is definitely high. All right, so let's see. David said, we are trying to get high. They are working on the rules and regs for medical marijuana. Okay, he said, trying to get high out there. Hey, what's going on, Alex? He said, oh, that kind of high. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. Coach Texie said, my tax exemption got sent back. Dumb me, forgot to date it. Assessor must accept my appeal by 8/15. Okay, so you got the 40. How many days do you guys get? In Georgia, we get 45 days. I don't know. Maybe it changes per county too. I don't know how, Alex, how many days you guys have for appeal on your taxes down where you're at in Georgia. But I know in different areas, we get 45 days in this metro Atlanta area, depending on what county you're in. Not recommended by the USPSTF. Okay, I think y'all are talking to each other. And hey, what's going on, Lane? So, all right, so we will dive off of the mold issue. So again, if you just joined the chat now, we just kind of touched on mold. If you're buying a new construction or if you are buying a resale, you should definitely get a mold inspection done in the house. And then also, if you're in Georgia, I recommend to all my clients to get a radon inspection done, but it's up to you to do whatever you want. Radon is an odorless gas that comes out from the ground, and it definitely can get trapped into the house because it has nowhere to flow. But radon is just something that's in the world. We have no control over that. So yes, definitely want to get that done. All right, now let's head into, and sorry if I feel like I'm rushing you guys. All right, the next thing I want to talk real quick, and I shared it on my timeline. I don't know if you guys checked it out, but this is about the data centers in Georgia. So if you are also buying property in Georgia, you want to make sure if you're buying, especially in a more rural area, and even if you're buying wherever you're at in the States, because I don't know where every data center is being placed at in America, but you want to make sure you kind of call down to the county, kind of look at the county city comprehension plans or anything to see if there's any data centers coming to your area and how it could possibly affect you, and if they have the right to eminent domain to kind of take it. So we're going to hear this out a little bit. Let me know your thoughts in regards to data centers and if you guys are feeling this type of situation in your area.
When you talk about what being on this property means to you,
yeah,
right? It's y'all's.
It's ours. It's our family. We belong here.
But Ansley Brown's childhood home likely won't be here much longer. That's because the state's largest utility, Georgia Power, says it needs the area to make way for a 35-mile-long transmission line.
Georgia Power has been here for as long as Ansley's mother has owned this property. It's just beyond the tree line. Now, with the expansion of this latest project, they're looking to take the 2.5 acres the house sits on.
Georgia Power says increasing demand has outpaced the capacity of its existing grid, and building a new transmission line requires acquiring more than 300 parcels of land, including residential properties.
What did your mom tell you she wanted for this property to be?
Generational wealth, true generational wealth was the idea, and now it's being stripped from us.
Georgia Power estimates 70 to 80% of the power on this new line is expected to help serve data centers. It says the remaining 20 to 30% of power will serve the state's growing residential and commercial demand.
Georgia Power told us that they feel as if they've done this process responsibly. What would you say to that?
I disagree. You can't tear down 35 miles of rural Georgia and it not hurt something or somebody. And to say that you're doing it in the name of data centers is a slap in the face to us, our community, our animals.
Brown's mother recently came to an agreement with Georgia Power to sell. Brown says if she didn't, the utility could have sought to acquire her property through eminent domain, a legal process that allows private property to be taken with compensation for projects determined to serve a public purpose.
All power generation starts somewhere.
Holly Lovett is a Georgia Power spokesperson.
Eminent domain is always, a last resort for us, and it's something we never want to do.
To us, it's theft. It's literally a billion-dollar company.
All right, so if you guys want to watch the full report, I did put that on my community post. So if you are purchasing in Georgia, if you currently live in Georgia, if you're a homeowner, or even if any other states, I don't know where all the data centers are being placed in America. However, you want to kind of look into that information. It is a sad situation, but I don't feel like they need to take people's property in order to expand what they need to expand, maybe find another area to do those type of things in. I don't know to what capacity we need data centers. I know that data centers are definitely sucking up our fresh water. They're definitely utilizing our energy, and of course they're saying it's because so many people are using so much energy nowadays that they need to create more and more centers to be able to kind of have it, have it kind of live somewhere where it can kind of keep pumping out this stuff as much as we're using it per se. I don't know much about everything behind everything, right? I just know that if you are buying real estate, if you are currently in real estate, you own real estate, you should definitely reach out to your local county, reach out, go look at the comprehension plan, see what type of things are happening, just to know what's coming to your area and how you can possibly stop it before it comes. Alex said board of equalization. Yes, I agree. We definitely need a board of equalization. I don't know if that's what you're stating as far as like property taxes and stuff like that. I could be wrong, but let me know. Oh, he said, LOL, Florida gets the award for the highest everything. Nebraska's still looking good. He said, Florida gets the award for everything high. Hey, what's going on, Donna? Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here. She said, I saw this story. It is sad and terrible. Yes, it is a sad and terrible story. So I just wanted to mention it to people, and I'm going to show a quick article again if you're in Georgia in regards to some of the places or things that they said about data centers. Lang said, will they buy her out for the data center? So yeah, so eminent domain. At the end of the video, the mom did say she accepted money for her house and her property. It's a shame because the mom, of course, she bought the property for purposes of trying to make sure it be a house for her kids going as they get older, as she gets older. Bought it a while back to do so at a reasonable price. Built a family there, had a farm, had animals, had a little pond, and now it's all gone. And of course, we know prices nowadays are so much higher. So it's like, yeah, you bought me out, but am I going to be able to take this money and move it over here and buy something that's affordable that I can still sustain with this new amount that you bought me out with? Like, how does it compare to how much she might still owe on her current mortgage or any other assessments, liens against the property? Because I don't know the full how much she owes. If she took any down payment to get the property, I don't know anything. But like once you close on that deal, is it going to be enough money to then shift somewhere else where the mortgage can be sustainable for the mom, and also she can still get what she had before, right? So these are like all the other extra things that we don't know about. And it's not just her, it's several houses in the area. I think it was up to a certain amount. This particular data center is being built in Coweta County, Georgia. So this area is actually in Noonan, Georgia. So if you are in Noonan and you're hearing about this, it's Georgia Power is claiming eminent domain on these properties to build out that data center. Alex said, make sure to vote Democrat for Public Service Commissioner. So as you hear, Alex said, make sure in Georgia to vote Democrat for Public Service Commissioner. If anybody's on here in Georgia, definitely look into it and vote with the purpose of helping. You know, we want to vote for the people to make sure we change stuff for the people. Kotexita said, seems they're being built everywhere. Need all that computing power to keep track of us. Yes, definitely cameras everywhere, keeping track of us more frequently now than before. Cameras on every corner, cameras in your house, everywhere. We are definitely being kept track of. And Georgia Democrats have made some inroads. Okay. Hey, what's going on, Rhonda? Thanks for jumping on here. And then Alex said, when you appeal property taxes, it goes to the Board of Equalization, which is made up of lay persons. Okay. Yes. So we definitely want to make sure you appeal your taxes in front of that Board of Equalization. All right, so let me show you guys real quick again if you are coming to Georgia. And again, I apologize if I'm moving fast. It's because I have a couple articles I want to touch on. So I was like, let me just kind of knock everything off and then be able to make sure my computer doesn't freeze too, because I have so much things open. All right, so if you are in Georgia and you are this is about the data centers. Last updated was July 2026. Data centers in Georgia, or data, however you guys say it. Explore operating and plan data centers in Georgia. There are 39 operating data centers in Georgia with a combined capacity of 2,492 MW and 128 planned projects that would add 11,851 MW of additional capacity. Explore the map and tables below. So as of right now, they're saying we have 39 operating ones. They plan to put 128 more in Georgia, totaling 169 data centers throughout Georgia. And this is the map of some of the ones that are already operating in certain areas and then spaces where they plan to put more at. So, excuse me. So if you are currently in Georgia or you're currently moving to Georgia, you want to kind of go and visit this map and kind of see where these centers might operate. So that might be where you might not want to move, because if they come in and they need to claim that land through eminent domain, you will soon after slightly be moving, because they will take your land through eminent domain. So we'll go in real quick. We'll kind of look at some of the areas. As you can see, we have, this is the one, I think this is the one in Noonan. I think this one, they don't have it on the map, but I think this one is down here where they about to plant it at in Noonan, here, Coweta right here. I think this is the one that was on the what you call, one of these is in Noonan. But these are some of the areas. These are some was already operating. So you got some near Fayetteville kind of operating already, Fayette County. You got some coming over here in South Fulton, the Fulton area down here, Hampton, if you guys are in Hampton, or Henry County. You have some down here in Griffin as we come into Spalding. We got some more over here in Locust Grove. We got some coming down here in Butts County. We got some going east in Covington. It looks like there's one planned in Covington. Let's see where we're at in Covington. Let's see. Oh, closer, like, I'm trying to think what exit is this. I don't know what exit that is. I'll be looking at exits sometimes. Sorry, guys. I'm going on a tangent. But yeah, we have some over here. We got some already operating down here. So as you guys can see, you could definitely use this map if you are coming to Georgia. We already have some operating inside of the Atlanta metro. If you're coming into Cobb, we have some. We have one coming in Marietta. We have one over here already close to Fulton, right outside of Cobb. Some over here, like right out below Mableton in that Douglas County area in Douglasville. So, yeah. So kind of look at that if you're coming to Georgia. If you're in Georgia, see where a data center might pop up next to you, all right? Because it's good to know that information. And if you need it, you can, what I'll do, hopefully I'll remember, because I was supposed to do it for the last video. I'm going to link that link below when the video's over, if I remember, because I got to wait for this video to process when I get off. And then it typically doesn't come back up, I think, for me to attach stuff until the day after. So I sometimes forget. Hey, Rhonda, hopefully she got twice what they offered years ago. Someone I know in Gwinnett County doubted their offer and they paid it. Oh, wow. Oh, doubled, you may say. Doubled their offer and they paid. Okay, yeah, so hopefully she did. Hopefully she went in there and she negotiated, and hopefully she tried to get them to double their offer, because we don't know what other expenses lay behind, you know, them just giving her the money for the house, and how does she be able to shift her life somewhere else, and is it affordable for her, right? And hopefully everybody in that area, because like I said, she wasn't the only one, there's several other homeowners that they claimed eminent domain and paid them out. My dad said the cost of electricity for these centers will be passed on to the people. Yep, the cost will be passed on to people. The centers are passing on electricity costs. We're getting elevated gas costs. We're getting elevated water costs. So all that stuff is being passed on. So definitely. All right, so that is the data centers. And now let's jump into property taxes. So if you are, again, in Georgia, let me know how property taxes are looking in your area. But I just want to let people know in Georgia, again, they are raising property taxes in a different county. And we know property taxes is becoming an issue now, right? Before, the issue in the last financial situation when it came to housing was more about like subprime. Before that, it was like, you know, different loan issues and all this stuff per se. That's subprime, whatever. But now we're seeing a different kind of situation where, because of home prices being so elevated, so high, so quickly, we are seeing property taxes have soared. So in years prior, we didn't see this big astronomical soar in property taxes, because when people were buying before, they appreciation on a house didn't appreciate 60, 70, 100, 300%, depending on where you're at, right? It only maybe increased 5%, maybe 3%, maybe 1% a year, right? Instead, we saw this big appreciation jump, which in turn made property taxes go higher, because when the county came out to assess the properties again, they assessed it based off of that property value or assessed value, and then they turned around and the property taxes went up. And because of that, that is becoming the new issue outside of what we saw years ago. It's not more of a loan issue nowadays. It's more of a property tax, a home insurance issue. It's all these other elements outside of that loan per se, right? And because of that, it's causing a lot of strife amongst people, and also their bills, because especially if you're buying a new construction, right? If you're sitting down with a new construction salesperson, they're breaking everything down. And even though it says in the fine paper that this is not this current tax amount doesn't reflect what you'll see in the future, blah, 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 however it kind of states it, people still kind of goes in one ear, out the other ear, and then you turn around and come a year or two from now, depending on where you're at and how your counties assess things, your property taxes go from the land tax to now the structure on the land tax, and now it doubled, or it went up $400 or $700, I don't know, depending on where you're at. And you're like, what the heck? My mortgage went from $2,300 to now $3,000. And it becomes unbearable. It becomes hard because most of these people already got a new construction where they paid for that buy down on their interest rate of your house. So you can't turn around and then go back and try to refinance for a lower rate currently, because it's not going to make sense if you already had a 4.99 or 3.99 where your rate is fixed for 30 years and it's already bought down. So when you then pair that with a property tax of your with the escrow, kind of, reflecting that, and the prices go up, it's like, oh my God, this becomes kind of unbearable for some people. And I know a lot of people recently on social media are kind of talking about how they're kind of struggling to pay everything. So right here, so if you're in Mableton, Georgia, and like I said, most counties in Georgia, let me know what's happening in your area of property taxes. If you're seeing an increase in property taxes, Mableton says property taxes going up in Mableton to pay for public safety. So it says taxes will increase in less than 5 months for Mableton property owners. So if you guys don't know, Mableton, Georgia is in Cobb County. It's literally right up, it's next to Smyrna, and it's actually between Smyrna, Austell, Mableton sits right there. Close to Metro Atlanta, close to Atlanta is considered, of course, Metro Atlanta. It says, this is talking about that. It says, as the Mableton City Council voted 6-1 to set the tax rate at 4.5 mils Monday night, Mayor Michael Owens said the money will be used to build a public safety division. This is an important step forward for Mableton and a direct investment in security and well-being of our community. He said, by establishing a dedicated funding source for public safety division, we are ensuring complete transparency. Every dollar generated through this district will go exactly where it's supposed to go, keeping Mableton safe. All right. And so let's go down here. He says a millage rate of 4.5 would mean the owner of a home worth $350,000 will owe $630 a year, and that will be due this year on December 1st. So December 1st of 2026, if you are currently in Mableton, Georgia, you will, if your house is worth $350,000, you will owe $630 a year. Let me see if I can do this math. Let me see if I do the math right for this, for the millage rate, because I typically do the millage rate based off of what they put on the taxes, and I'll let you know how I do it. I'll show you, because I'm gonna pull up a tax thing. I just want to make sure. I don't know if they're doing it the same way. No, so they must have divided that. Let me see. Divide by 4.5. No, they ain't doing that way. So I don't know how he did his millage rate. But all right, so I don't know how they did their millage. I gotta read how Mableton does their millage, because I'm confused how they got $630. But anyway, you'll be paying additional $630 if your house is $350. If it's above that, you'll be paying more than that. If it's lower than that, hopefully you'll be paying lower than this. He said, I'm not broke and I ain't greedy, but I'm close enough to care. And there's people on fixed incomes, of which I am one, who that is a lot of money. So Jim Terrell, he was at the council, obviously, and he's saying that he's on a fixed income. And this is where it kind of affects people. Of course, people who bought a house a long time ago that are a little older, they have retired, they are on fixed incomes. This affects them. People who are recently bought, who are just barely getting by, because we do got some people, unfortunately, that like to ball on outside their budget. And so they went and bought more than they could afford, really, based off of them getting an approval from a lender and them buying at the top of the loan, or maybe them also, because I've had people who did this, where they got approved for one amount and they went back and kept getting approved for higher amounts, and they bought at the higher amount instead of coming down to that lesser amount. So everybody, you know, how they kind of move is differently, but I always tell people, be mindful of what you're buying, because again, property taxes continuously go up. Home insurance goes up. If you're in HOA, it goes up. Typically, you don't see these things go down. Has there been some times in some places, maybe when property taxes kind of either flattened out, stayed the same, maybe you got a reduction, or because you had too much in your escrow, so you might have got to check back. So yeah, sometimes you get that, but it's not all the time, right? And I tell people, if you do get that escrow check back, put it back into the escrow just to be safe. But most people sometimes spend it. All right, so that's about the property taxes in Mableton, Georgia. So if you're currently in Mableton, Georgia, if you're having issue, if you don't know about this, hopefully you know now. And again, let me know how you guys are feeling when it comes to those in your area. Kotek Caesar said, with the higher electricity costs, I just don't do anything. No restaurants, no bars, no concerts, no movies. Let the local economy starve. Yeah, hey, I'm like, I don't do much either, because everything's so expensive now. So I just sit my butt at home and I just stay on the MLS, looking at everybody's business. Donna said utility costs are already high. Yes, they are already extremely high, Donna. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, my gas is high for no reason. I only use, because it's just me, only use, when I get my gas bill, it's only, literally it says my gas is only, that I've used is only $7 worth of gas, but because of all the fees included, my gas bill is like $56, and it has nothing to do with what I use, because it's just me. I take my shower with hot water. I don't have, and I have a gas stove, but everything else is electricity. So I don't know. And I don't use the heat. So I have a heater that I literally use because I don't want to pay these high behind bills. Vote out the bums. Yes, I agree, Alex. Vote out the bums, vote out the people who are just making everything more difficult, don't understand that it's more than just them, it's actually everybody around them as well. Kotek said, my property taxes are 3 times higher than they were 20 years ago. Plus, I pay $200 a year in sidewalk taxes. By the way, I don't have a sidewalk. I remember you mentioned that, saying that you paid an additional amount for sidewalk taxes that you did not have. So it's crazy that you're paying additional fees for something that you do not have. You better tell the city to come down there and put a sidewalk in for that, since you're paying that extra $200 a year. I would call them like, you need to put a sidewalk in for me. Alex said, in Georgia, current homeowners declaring homestead exemptions have stable property tax because of Scarlet Amendment. Only increase of millage rate will make it go up. Yes, the millage rate will definitely make the taxes go up. And so this is what I'm telling everybody, especially if you're in the metro Atlanta area. Like, again, I don't know, every county is different, and I'm more of like a different part of Georgia than where you're at, Alex. So I don't know if you guys are seeing that your council, your city council, or your county kind of talking about raising taxes based on the millage rate. So I don't know. Scarlet Amendment keeps taxes from rising from a reassessment of property value. Okay. All right. Thanks for, I love all this information. I'm like, thank you guys for providing everybody information. If you're in Georgia, all this information is great to know. So Rhonda said, is that code for expanding the police department and buying them more toys? Exactly, right? I don't know. Like, I do know in Cobb, Cobb County, I believe Mableton, I don't know if it's Mableton or Austell, one of them didn't have a police department, and they were kind of utilizing Cobb County's police department. So I got to remember which one of them didn't have one. So I don't know if it's Mableton or Austell, I gotta remember, but one of them didn't have a police department. They were using the county. So I don't know if now they're like, we need our own police now. So yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be more than just for the police. Alex said, therefore, only millage rate in Georgia changes most people's taxes unless second home or investment property. Okay. I'm like, let's see. Kotek Sita said, fees and surcharges triple my electric bill. Yes, the fees, the surcharges, everything triples my electric, triples my gas, triples everything. At the water, the storage. I'm like, what the heck is going No. We do not. We don't want sidewalks on this block. Okay, he said no. We don't want no sidewalks on the block. Alex said, coastal Georgia, we have storm drain tax assessment on property tax. Okay, so I don't know nothing about that, so that's good to know. So if you're in that coastal part of Georgia, because where I'm at, we're not on the coast, so we don't have a storm drain tax assessment. So that's good to know. I didn't know that. Okay, wow. Kotex, he said, we got the police coming. All right, so yeah, so that's a little bit about the property taxes. So if you guys are seeing that, let me know. All right, next I'm going to show you a property tax bill real quick. I'm gonna make sure I get these people's name in here because I don't want to show their name. And so that way, I got the address in here. Let me make it bigger. Sorry, I'm just trying to make it bigger so I don't have these people's address all on here. Because I don't want nobody to address on the line. All right, so I'll show you every area, every property tax bill is different. I'm pretty sure most people know how to read their property tax bill. So this is in Newton County. This is a property tax bill. It kind of breaks everything down right here. So this property tax bill has a homestead exemption, as you can see right here. It's a county, the school. I always tell people the school takes most of your taxes. I'm always screaming this online. I'm always screaming this to people that schools take most of the daggone taxes. And I'm like, y'all, well, these taxes I don't want to be rude, but these kids I don't be feeling like they getting that educated nowadays. So y'all need to limit some of these taxes. But anyway, fire, and then the SL Coldwater Creek. So right here, the millage rate, their millage rate is right here. So what we do in this particular county, how you can find out how much your taxes would be typically is that you'll just times the net taxable 99,520 by the millage rate, and it will give you that estimate right here of how much that tax would be. Every county is different. Like I said, I got to figure out how Mableton does their millage, because that 4.5 to give you that 630 a year on a 350, I got to figure out the whole breakdown of the millage rate. But typically in most counties in this metro Atlanta area, it's based off of the net taxable times the millage rate gives you the estimate tax that you're paying, and then the home exemption then kick in as far as the deductions, whatever you make per se, and they'll reduce accordingly. But yeah, so that's how we typically will see it. So look at your property bill. I mean your property tax bill. Of typically most of them you get it maybe in the mail. Some people might just go online and get it. You can definitely go online nowadays and appeal it. You have a certain amount of days. Like I said, every county is different. 45 days typically the norm around where we're at, Metro Atlanta. But check out what's going around you, see how properties are going, see does this meet up to the standards of the properties around you, and appeal it. If it doesn't make sense, appeal your tax bill. Coach AC said, for years I paid $29 a year for stormwater. Now it's $200 a year. Jesus, wow, $200 a year. What the heck is going on? Those look like little tanks to me. I'm talking about the cars. All right, so that's how you can kind of read some of your property tax bill. If you haven't read one before, again, it's different depending on where you're living at. I just brought that up for purposes of if you're in the Metro Atlanta area, but definitely always read your property tax bill. All right, now we're going to go to another reason why we're seeing situations when it comes to outside of property taxes soaring. Of course, we all know homeowner insurance soar as well. So the reason why I'm kind of bringing this up too is just so people know, if you're currently in the market of trying to even purchase a house, when you sit down with a real estate agent or you sit down with a lender, they should be telling you these other aspects of what's happening, how your mortgage goes outside of the principal and interest. Because I get a lot of people, and I see tons of people online, especially younger people, always saying like, I was always told that my mortgage is fixed and it'll never go up. That's the reason why I bought a house. I stopped renting because I thought X, Y, and Z. I wasn't told this, I wasn't told that. So now I don't know if they're going to see this video, right? Because I don't get pushed through the algorithm like other people do. However, if they do see this video, they'll realize that property taxes go up. Typically, home insurance goes up. Again, HOA fees go up. And unless we see a shift down in the economy, it's most likely that things go up. They don't typically trend down. I'm not saying that there hasn't been periods when things have softened, adjust down, as we're seeing home prices kind of do it in the Georgia, state of Georgia right now, and the other states, but not every state, right? But yeah, so let's talk about property, home insurance. It says, why are homeowners insurance rates rising so fast? It says monthly payments have more than tripled in 14 years, according to homes.com, making affordability difficult for many people. All right, so it says the first time many homeowners really notice their insurance isn't when they buy the policy, is when the renewal notice arrives. So as we all know, when you get renewed, that's when you typically notice that your policy is going up. Most times they'll send you something in the mail beforehand, and they'll say, I just want to let you know that it'll be going up at the end of the policy, blah, blah. So let's get down here to read in regards to protection. What the second purpose says, at its most basic level, home insurance protects you against large, unpredictable losses, firestorms, theft, events that are rare but financially devastating when they occur. What me and my dad always talk about is that with insurance, even if it's outside, just not even house insurance, but even car insurance, what if there was like a rebate? What if there was something like, if you didn't utilize the insurance, can we get a rebate back? Maybe, half of the insurance comes back to you, or maybe you get, a few dollars back or something, or maybe you get a discount on the next time you do your next home insurance. But of course, I guess they don't want to do it like that, because then they feel like they wouldn't have no money. Even though most of these insurance companies, when things happen, they don't be wanting to pay out. That's the irony in it all, right? All right, it says, but there's a second reason insurance matters. Your lender requires it. So if you're buying a house and you're buying it with a financing it, your lender does require that you have home insurance. If you pay cash, you don't have to have home insurance. I always tell people it's great to have home insurance, even if you pay a house cash, because you never know what's going to happen. Especially if it's an investment property and you're not living in it, somebody burned it down, blah, blah, blah. But typically, most times, even when you buy a house cash and it's an investment property, they still want you to have some type of insurance on it, but you don't have to carry it. All right. When you borrow to buy a home, the house itself is the lender's backup plan. If something goes wrong, as we all know, and you can't keep with the payments, the lender basically repossesses the house. All right, let's get down to this. For many years, insurance was a relatively quiet part of homeownership equation. It didn't disappear, but it rarely drove decisions. That's changed, not because insurance is new, but because the numbers involved have grown. Premiums have been rising and home values have increased. And when you apply even modest rates to much larger asset values, the dollar impact becomes more noticeable. So it shows you right here, monthly insurance payment for medium price homes. Shows you how it's rising. It says, consider a simple example. A home worth $400,000 might have a cost about $3,000 per year to insure not long ago. At somewhat higher rates, the number can move to $4,000. That extra $1,000 per year, about $80 per month, may not seem dramatic on its own, but it doesn't exist in isolation. It arrives alongside higher mortgage rates, higher property taxes, and higher home prices. Together, those pressures add up. Because buyers think in terms of monthly payments, even increment, which I always tell people, we got to stop thinking on terms of monthly payment, and we got to start thinking on terms of our budgets. We got to get out of the monthly payment mindset, you guys. We got to look at our total net as far as what we're bringing home outside of the gross. And we got to look at based on what can we afford, be able to afford to pay. And we want to dive a little bit below it because, as we know, stated right here, typically property taxes go up, insurance goes up, HOA fees go up if you're in an HOA community. So you don't want to kind of put yourself in a predicament going forward as things may increase, even though you are paying your mortgage down. But we want to be in a good spot, not squirming to find ourselves caught up, and especially if something should happen, right? Things happen every day. Life circumstances occur every day. That additional cost may not disqualify a buyer entirely, but it can reduce what they can borrow and meaningfully amount. We all know that. I want to get to, let me see. I want to get to the other part where it kind of breaks down. All right, right here it says the parts of housing cost that doesn't stay fixed. Again, there's another important difference between insurance and most other housing costs. It changes over time, which we know. Sorry, there was one part that I wanted to read right here. Okay. What's pushing premiums higher? The basic economics are straightforward. When expected costs rise, insurance prices follow. Rebuilding costs have increased. So this is a reason why home insurance policies are going higher. I know some insurance agents will tell you, no, it's not because of the rebuilding costs. Because I've actually heard some agents say that. I'm like, well, it is, because you're telling me that if a house that was built in 1950s burns down or gets flood damage and you have to repair it now, the replacement cost of that is going to be more money. So it is going to be an increase because of the rebuilding costs. Says materials and labor, see right here, are more expensive than they were a decade ago, raising the cost of claims. Home values have risen as well. Insurance are covering more valuable assets, which increase potential losses. And in some regions, weather-related risks are playing a larger role, increasing both the frequency and severity of claims. So so I remember David, I don't know if he's still here, but I remember David said in Nebraska, their insurance is higher because you have more frequent weather-related risks, the hail, all those things in Nebraska. So they see higher insurance costs. And I would think that the insurance costs would be higher as well, let's say in Florida or somewhere close to the coast, outside of just having water, flood insurance and all that stuff. I think you would have possibly higher insurance costs too. These forces reinforce one another. Higher value homes and high risk areas are particularly expensive to insure. The result is steadily upward pressure on premiums, and even if the changes from year to year feel gradual. So yeah. So that's about the home insurance as well, as far as when it comes to outside of property taxes, home insurance, and different things like that. So now we're going to jump over to, I appreciate you guys being here. We are going to jump, if you missed so far, we've just been touching on different topics around properties, taxes rising, insurance rising, hitting home threats. So we kind of talked about the hidden home threats already, which is mold. If you're getting new construction, you still want to do a mold test if possible, radon test if possible, depending on what state you're in or how big it is in your state. I don't know what it is. And then also, if you're in any states where you're seeing data centers pop up, you might want to call your local county to see if that is going to be an issue. All right. And so the next thing I wanted to touch on is, again, foreclosures, but we're going to look real quick into the U.S. housing market. And I know I'm not trying to scare people into the housing market crashing or all that stuff, because there will be a reset in housing. I don't think there will be a tremendous crash. However, there will be definitely will be a reset, because the houses have to become affordable in the future. I don't care how much people feel like that we'll never see a reset in prices. We will have to see a reset, because the affordability, no one will be able to afford houses. And then that means literally the government will have to intervene and buy all these houses. And because even these investors, these high corporate companies, these hedge funds and everything, they're not buying as frequently as they were no more. It's not making sense. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. So I just wanted to tell you guys, as you guys should know, the U.S. housing market, as far as readjusting how it adjusted, kind of in 1837, we had the next one in 1873, then we had 1929, which is the Great Depression. We had 2008. And so I feel like there will be a reset in housing. I just don't know when and how. And I think it's not going to be due to the factors that happened during these decades. Because the funny thing about it is that, again, we know housing is cyclical. We know things happen in cycles, things occur how they occur, but every time something occurs, it's a different component kind of put into making the housing market, something occur in the housing market, right? So we'll just run through this real quick. We're not going to be long on it, so we'll touch bases on. So the panic of 1837. We kind of touched on this before in one of the lives we did before, but it's basically said the panic of 1837 can be attributed to both domestic and international causes, speculative lending standards, a land bubble on the edge of bursting, and a decline in price of cotton all had a severe impact on the economy. It says by May of 1837, banks began to suspend payments and loans, and a recession lasting close to 7 years began. During this recession, the fallout caused banks and businesses to close their doors. Workers become unemployed, numbering into the thousands, and the rate of joblessness to spike as high as 25%. So this, in turn, had an effect, of course, economically, right? And because people lost their jobs, we did see a decrease of home prices. All right, then we go to 1873 stock market crisis. Since 1873 stock market crisis, or the panic of 1873, originated in the U.S. but had global repercussions, triggering widespread economic downturn and financial instability. It was fueled by speculative railroad expansion, leading to overinvestment and subsequent decline in railroad securities. So again, we see another big factor outside of just housing that indirectly affected housing, where we see these economical factors. And we got to remember that our GDP, I think it's about 30% of it is housing. So when we see these big economical factors, sometimes it can indirectly trigger a stagflation, whether houses kind of stay stagnant, prices stay stagnant, or we'll see a depreciation where prices will go down. They're not going to go all the way. Please don't expect that houses are going to go down to $1, you guys. You do have some cities and towns where this local government owns some of these properties and they're trying to sell it to you for $1. But I'm just saying that you might see a depreciation, right? Because of the other outside forces in the economy causing a kind of suppression on the housing market indirectly. All right. So it says the full-scale bank collapses contribute to economical turmoil on the time, with severely highly established banks falling on their knees. The most notable example was J. Cook and Company's collapse due to overinvestment in railroad stocks and securities. This ultimately led to widespread societal panic, a swarm of bank runs, and multiple bank collapses nationwide. So again, we hear both of these times in which it affected the banks, right? A lot of this bank speculation around booms, railroad booms. Could we see a speculation in the AI boom? This is just some things to kind of, assess. And it said right here, depression and deflation led property value decline, widespread foreclosures, and increasingly challenging housing market conditions. And then we get to the Great Depression of 1929 to 1933 when it ended. It said the most notable crash of the 1900s took place in 1929 with the crash of Wall Street, leading to the Great Depression. As a result of the crash, prices fell up to 67%, with properties plummeting in value and bank lending decreasing as well. Just a decade before, the real estate market had been booming, with markets like Manhattan and New York representing almost 10% of all real estate wealth in the country. This market lost over half its value by the end of 1933. The repercussions, however y'all say it, of this crash are thought to have affected property markets until 1960, when prices finally recovered. It says the next cycle of real estate remained stable until the stock market hit another level in 1974. Leading up to the 1970, inflation rose from under 2% to over 6%, causing the cost of a new home to nearly double. So as you see in the 1970s, home prices, they said, doubled as well. Home prices continued to grow over the next 20 years, bolstered by legislation encouraging banks and lenders to grant funding with little regulatory oversight. And that's how it ends up kind of getting into, as you see in the oversight, it'll kind of lead us to the bubble of 2008 as well. Until the end of 1990s, the bank was boosted by increasing real estate collateral and growing credit options. All right, so then we get to the 2008 situation. Growing into 2000, the U.S. and the rest of the world was going through a housing bubble. The rate of mortgage fraud skyrocketed, and there's still mortgage fraud going on now. It probably was mortgage fraud going on before then too. But there's a lady that's on YouTube that I watched probably last year, and she purchased a house in Metro Atlanta, and I was being nosy. I went in the back end to see how they purchased it, and they purchased it with an FHA, but they're using it as an Airbnb. It's like, no, that's mortgage fraud, but okay. And the country ended into the century with an early recession. Despite these facts, the mortgage denial rate halved between 1997 and 2008. From June 2004 to June 29, 2006, the Federal Reserve hiked rates from 1.25% all the way to 5.2% to put off inflation, which the Feds tried to do as well this time around. But the funny thing this time around is that the economy is doing something different. Like typically they would raise the rates and then they would kind of hopefully bring a suppression to kind of deflate the inflation. However, it's still kind of heading out of control, which is crazy because I'm like, don't nobody got no money right now, but I don't know where it's coming from. They said that the government is printing money, and most of the economy that's spending right now are people who have money to spend. But I think a lot of people are on credit card debt because I got credit card debt too, y'all. So shoot, we ain't lying. We ain't gonna say we ain't got credit card debt over here because I do it. I'm trying to pay it off. It says this caused a significant increase in the cost of lending, and many borrowers saw their loan repayments escalate by 60%. So it's showing how the Fed rates and everything and stuff like that. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat real quick before we keep going, because I know I'm just reading. Kotaxita said markets always do what they're supposed to do, just not when they're supposed to do it. Exactly. I definitely agree, Kotaxita, that the market will always do what's supposed to do. Housing, like I said, is cyclical. We have cycles, things go in cycles. And the thing about housing is that housing takes a little bit more time to either see a buildup or to see a decline. So we don't know when it will decline, how far it will decline down. As you see, we see time periods when property value dropped 67%. We saw time period in the 08 bubble where it dropped 50%. And you don't know, like as of right now, I know most people are saying that that they don't see a decline in prices because they feel like so many people have equity in their houses that there's no reason that it should decline. But my question to that, or I guess you say my rebuttal to that, is that yes, there is equity in people's properties nowadays. However, who is going to be able to buy the house? That's the problem. So it's like, yes, you have the equity, but if the equity is too high and the next person can't afford to buy it, then who's going to buy it? So what's happening now too, you're seeing a lot of people kind of taking their houses off the market because some people don't need to sell their houses. They just want to sell it to either get the equity from it and go on to the next and do what they have to do in regards to, the plans they have in place. So they'll either like take it off the market and they're like, you know what, I'll just wait to sell it next year or the year after or 10 years down the road, right? And because of that, we don't know where anything's going. We don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if housing prices keep going up. I don't know if they'll keep going down. Like I said, I do know from what I'm seeing now and the data and from all the conversation I'm having with people that call me or email me or whatever, is that I am seeing that there definitely is change that people are experiencing that they felt like they weren't going to experience, as far as maybe being told that you buy these houses, you'll always see equity because real estate always goes up. So what's going on my computer? I just saw the flick. They trying to keep me off of here. Trying to keep me off of stream your eyes flick. I don't know if y'all saw that too. Alex, read a book named, okay, let me write it down. I'm gonna write this book down. 1873 book, US was, okay, I'm gonna read that book. Thank you, Alex. I'm writing it down right now. 1873, but US was on the gold standard then. Okay, let me put, so I'm gonna call it. So the book called 1873. I will definitely read that book. Nixon closed gold window at Fed in 1971. Has closed the gold window. Okay, that's what I thought that was. Where could exchange dollars for gold? Crypto will probably get us. Crypto is going to be interesting. Speculation in that too as well, right? Cheaper housing in Cairo, Illinois, cheap. Oh, you just said that now people are going to be flocking to Illinois. President Grant was president 1873, second term, I believe. Okay. I got to look into the president who was 40 to 50% housing inflation over 10 to 20 years is about right for history you just reviewed. Sorry, guys, I'm just going through the comments because I was missing the comments I was reading. Stock market didn't recover from 29, crashed for nearly 40 years. Yeah, I don't know why my computer's flicking. Let me know if you guys see to my camera's flicking, which is weird. Yeah, it's really interesting when you kind of read into the history of things, understand the trends or how things happen. It's like it's almost a similar cycle of how things are happening. I don't want to say similar cycle, but there's always a similar core of like, and things, different components pile up on it to create something as economically happening. But the core always stems, of course, from money situations. Clark, here in Port St. Lucie. Oh, I know somebody that was moved. I helped a family move from Port St. Lucie to Georgia. They end up renting. Florida developers are not building affordable homes. They are building rental properties. Rental properties bring in more money, but the rent is higher than a mortgage. Okay, so then does it make sense in your situation in St. Lucie? Port St. Lucie, does it make sense to then rent? Because if the renting is higher than mortgage, then it makes sense to get a mortgage. So that's where you like make it make sense. Like after you break all the numbers down, everything is like, does it make sense to go to rent? Because there are a lot of corporations now that are building rent. Single family rentals, and I don't know if that's going on in Florida as far as if they're single family or if they're attached like townhouses or whatever. But like in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, we're seeing like a lot of these corporations now they're moving from actually buying single family properties, and they're moving into the space like, okay, we're not going to buy them more, we're going to actually create a whole community, and we're going to develop this whole community. It's going to be single family rentals, and we're going to rent them out to you guys. And over in one area on the east side of off of I-20 and east part of Metro Atlanta, down I-20, Lithonia, I was just there a month or so ago. I think I talked to you guys about that online. And they built out a whole new rental community, single family rentals. It was 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and they were earning like $2,600 a month. So if you can find something cheaper than that, if you can purchase a home with a mortgage and you assess all those things, the taxes, the insurance, all that stuff, and it's cheaper than $2,600 a month, then shoot, why not go get a home? Like, why buy a home, you know? Yeah, the only difference between that is that you take on your own maintenance costs, right? If you're renting, you're not taking on the cost of those maintenance things. However, we still know when you're renting and stuff breaks, sometimes the management company will come right over and fix it, X, Y, and Z. So maybe you might. Sometimes people have to go out and pay their own and hopefully get refunded through the management company. So if that becomes the issue in the situation, is like you gotta. That's why I told people you gotta like really take a piece of paper and write it down and break down the pros, cons, the what you like, the purpose of what you're trying to do, and those things, and like write it all down. Write down, like, break down your finances, break down everything. I think I showed you guys on the last slide. I have like this financial recovery book I got from Five Below. And it's like, just, you know, understand the finances, see what makes sense, because it might not make sense for you to turn around and to rent. It might make sense to where you're at to buy. Condo prices in Atlanta have gone, yes, they have gone down. Alex, you are correct. Condo prices in Atlanta are trending down. And it kind of sucks. A lot of these people, of course, bought during the pandemic, during this phone market. People were buying because everybody's like, oh, buy, you gotta buy. Look at this. I don't know what's going on. Why is it kicking me out? If it gets me out of the stream, I'll pop again. I don't know what's going on. But everybody was saying, everybody was saying, you know, buy, and people fell to this FOMO and these buying these condos at these expensive prices, and then they turn around. Now they're trying to get out of them 3 or 4 years later, and the prices are going down. These people, and that's the next thing I'm talking about real quick too, is that some of these people are underwater now. So we will get rid of. So that's a little bit about the housing market situation, the different trends, cyclical, the cycle, I should say, sorry, the housing market. If you guys want to learn more about it, I will try to remember to put the link below as well. But it's the housing market fully recovered from 2008 crash. It's kind of showing you that. And then it kind of talks about it's worth nothing that the-19 pandemic actually had a positive impact on property prices. So it tells you, like, of course, as we know, the market had crashed in 2008. Home prices went down, depreciated about 50%. Like I told you guys before, some of these neighborhoods didn't see a recovery in prices until 2019, and then it over appreciated in 2020, 2021, and they actually saw their property values go up. So as it's said, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but what goes up must come down. I don't know to what magnitude it will come down. But we've had times of, like you see here, inflation, deflation, stagnation, where prices kind of stay high, along with interest rates being high as well. So we'll see what happens as the year kind of keeps going. LOL, guy next door thinks he's going to get $2,500 a month for rent, sure, in this neighborhood. Yeah, people, you'd be surprised how people feel like they're going to get what they, you know, a lot of people have the mindset of them thinking that sometimes their property is worth more than what others see it for. See that their property is worth. And I understand, I look at both sides, right? I understand the person who owns the property, they're like, okay, I need this much because I have to take care of my property taxes. If I still have a mortgage on the property, I still have to pay that. If I have all this insurance that I have to pay, all these things that I have to pay, right? It has to equate to a certain amount for you to take home some type of cash at the end of the month, and also be able to pay all that off as well through that renter. But sometimes if you bought in the wrong area and you don't understand the area, you can be basically buying a property in an area that does not allow you or afford you to be able to get those rent prices. And it just depends on your state, depends on your area, depends on what's happening with the rents in that particular neighborhood, everything. Because it could be one person that'll set it off where maybe the rents at one time was $2,000, and then one person was like, I need this daggone thing rented out, and they lower their rent to $1,700, and then somebody buy it, and then it's like a domino effect. It just trickles off. And that can also happen if you sell the house too, where people can be like, I gotta get rid of this, and then people just start lowering their prices. And just like what's happening in Metro Atlanta, you have a lot of these hedge funds, these corporate investors, they're like, we need to unload this inventory, we need to get rid of it. You see a lot of these new construction people where they're not trying to lower their prices. So what they're doing is they're just giving massive incentives. They just giving massive incentives. They're doing buy downs with the lending. So they're paying like $30,000, $40,000 to get these rates to 30-year fixes for you guys when you purchase the houses. They're giving $20,000 in closing costs. And I tell people, be very cautious of this, because if you don't do the math right, and if you don't see yourself staying there forever, you might, depend on how the economy's going and where we're seeing the housing market, you might go in underwater. Because what I'm seeing some of these new construction developers do as well, they will, these new construction companies, and one of them is Taylor Morrison. I don't want to, knock bad stuff on Taylor Morrison, but what I've seen them typically do is they take the same floor plan, they build a community, they sell the homes in that community, then they go right up the street or not far away, and they do the same exact floor plan and do another community, and the prices up the street will be cheaper. And so they literally just devalued your price that you bought in this whole other subdivision by going up the street and making prices cheaper. So just be mindful, you guys. Just be mindful. Like I said, I don't want to scare people from purchasing a home, but I just want you guys to be very mindful of what you're doing. They don't want homeowners anymore. Yeah, I saw a report where they really don't want homeowners no more. They kind of want America to turn into a place where everybody rents, which is not, it kind of sucks, because people want to have homeownership. People want to live that American dream. And, unfortunately, they are trying to make people into renters. With the housing bill that was passed, it's supposed from keeping corporations from buying houses. Yeah, it says about up to 350 that they can have, that they can own. But we'll see what happens with that. I feel like they'll create other shell companies or do something else. Instead of one corporation owning 1,000 homes, just 10 corporations own 100. Exactly, absolutely. Yeah, they said loophole, talking about the loopholes. Cairo. Am I saying that right? Or Cairo? I don't know, like the syrup. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He's only had somebody in there for a few months over the past 2 years, worth even less, with the giant wall 2 feet from the house with the new development. Oh, wow. Is that the situation you was telling where it kind of messed up your view? You can't see out the windows no more? New home sales, man, as bad as used cars salesmen. Yes, it's a shame, because when you talk to these salespeople, because again, I tell people, real estate, lenders, everybody, we're in the sales industry, right? We're in the sales industry. So at the end of the day, people are trying to sell you stuff. And what happened, so I'm gonna tell you guys a story, and then I'll go on to my next thing, and then we'll get out of here, because I went over my time tonight. But I went recently to a housing event the other day, because I'm out of town. I'm in, somewhere else. So like when I go to other places or whatever and visit people, if they have like any homeownership events, anything, I'll go and I'll check it out, just to go meet other people, maybe meet lenders in the area, meet realtors in the area, because it's always great to be able to, refer business or find other lenders. Because I just had a client, I'm working with somebody recently where they needed a lender in New York. And luckily I did have a lender that works in New York. His name is Kevin Jefferson. He's typically on here. He's the lender. He has a YouTube channel called The People's Lender, but he's in New York as well. But the good thing about it is that you go to these spaces and you meet these people, so that way you have more resources to give out to help other people when they're trying to do things right. And I went to this event, and I just wanted to give them my card, take their information, just to have resources. And they trying to sell me. I'm like, I don't want to be sold. I'm like, when do we realize that this is a business? We're humans. I don't want you to sell stuff to me. I don't sell stuff to people. My biggest thing in real estate really is education. Like, I love when people work with me or want to work with me or partner with me or whatever. However, the whole goal is to be able to educate people, because I realize a lot of people don't really fully understand real estate. And they're being told different short clips online, and through those short clips online, they think they understand, but they don't understand. So you'll get people that'll be online like, I'm an investor, I just bought a piece of land and I'm in Minnesota and I'm building a house on the land, and you'll have somebody in California that'll be like, oh, I want to do what the person did in Minnesota, but meanwhile Minnesota has a different law, or the zoning or the permitting and everything is different, and you're trying to do something over here and you didn't even contact your local county, your local permitting, your local coding department. Like, you didn't contact these people. So you're taking small doses of what people are telling you online, and you're trying to replicate it in a whole other state, in a whole other county. So that's the purpose of me wanting to come on here and try to educate people, make them aware, to show them the ups and the downs of real estate. Because real estate, it is a good tool, and it's a good, I don't even say it's a good tool. It's just a good thing to have, just because if you're trying to have a family and you want to create a family atmosphere and stability, it's great to own a house, because that creates that stability. And just taking the whole thing of investment out of real estate, just to be able to say, this is my house, this is where I live at, and this is where I plan to live out forever, because I want to have a place that sustains my family. And then going forward, if I should happen to pass away, I know that my children's children can have somewhere to go that hopefully is eventually paid off, and they're just paying property taxes, right? But I feel like everybody now is just in it just to sell you real estate. I'm like, I was just like, the realtor was telling me, I'm gonna get you to buy something here. I'm like, oh my God, like, you are aggressive. I'm like, you aggressive, man. Like, I don't want to. Thank you. Messed up, destroyed the view. He's talking about the wall. Try to pronounce. I say Cairo, so I guess I'm saying it wrong because you guys are telling me to say it a different way. But it's probably because I'm from the north. That's just how I talk. So I probably won't be able to pronounce it the right way. So I was saying Cairo, but it looks like it's the way Kotex Tita said is Cairo or something. Cairo. Cairo? I say Cairo, so I don't know. Cairo. Oh, is it Cairo? I don't know. That's just the way I talk, y'all. Like I say, potato, either, you know. Don't beat me up in the comments because I'm not pronouncing it correctly. He said, LOL, salesperson. All right. So, all right. The next thing, my neighbor of 25 years was from Georgia. Oh, from the country, Georgia, I'm guessing. But before that, okay, I don't know what that means. I'm confused. All right, so let's see. This is I wanted to kind of touch on this, but I think this is kind of similar to what we talked about, so I don't want to bring that up because that's going to be the same thing. This is about taxes. Oh, I did want to show this real quick about taxes in Texas. I don't know if you guys are in Texas as well. This was the other thing I wanted to talk about with taxes, and then I'm getting to short sales and we're going to jump off. So in Texas, it says the unlikely workforce that could help. Oh, wait, this is not the. Yeah, this is the one. That could help fix, because I wanted to kind of talk about, since we talked about property taxes going up, they're saying that in Texas, it says the unlikely workforce that could help fix America's property tax system. So this is in Montgomery County, Texas. If anybody's in Montgomery County, Texas, know somebody down there, let me know. Alex said, Cairo, Georgia is South Georgia. There's only one way to pronounce it. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know. And so right here it says more than 4,000 completed homes remain missing from property tax rolls in Montgomery County, Texas, and that's progress. The backlog once stood at roughly 12,000 properties just last year. The Montgomery Central Appraisal District added 5,052 previously missed homes to the rolls, restoring approximately $1.5 billion in tax value, Deputy Sheriff. So I think a lot of these taxes, and I could be wrong, the reason why they probably weren't getting the right amount due for the property taxes or whatever is because some of these builders are not reporting, that the new construction builders may not have been reporting that the properties were built. So sometimes with some of these new construction builders, like they'll submit the plans, and then they'll have the house almost completed, but not fully completed to get a CO, which is a certificate of occupancy. And so then they're still being taxed on the land, but they're not being assessed or taxed on the property on the land now because they don't want to have property taxes go up while they're trying to sell the properties. So I'm thinking they could be one of the reasons, but I don't know. Let's see. It says, but the district is still trying to catch up as subdivisions spread north of Houston and thousands of parcels are created each year. So yeah, so it seems like it might be something around new construction. To close the gap and stay on top of more than 121,000 protests they received so far this year, officials say they need more staff. So they're saying this could help in regards to property taxes in this particular area of Texas, that if they can basically find all the properties that need to be taxed accordingly, as far as it could hopefully kind of, I'm guessing, disseminate or kind of split up the taxes accordingly where people are not overly taxed. That's what I'm thinking from this article, but I could be wrong. It says bodies are needed, Martinez said, in all. The district requested 18 new positions, including 14 appraisers. Montgomery County is far from alone in its need. Municipal surveys, government audits, and budget requests from across the country describe assessors' offices struggling to recruit and retain the specialized workers responsible for maintaining the property tax roll. All right, so it seems like they need more people in the county, the office. It's something of a second act for him, a career, but let's talk about the guy's career. Sorry. It says the workers behind every valuation, protest, and property tax bill. It's hard to understate the scale of the consequences of the assessor labor shortage. In Los Angeles County, a shortage of qualified employees contributed a backlog of nearly 110,000 permits, ownership transfers, and Proposition 19 claims or appropriate proposition, according to the Assessor's Office 2025-2026 budget plan. So what they're basically saying is that they need more people in these government type of roles to kind of help, hopefully, push through the permits, ownership transfers. I'm guessing maybe through probate, maybe through different things in order to assess people accordingly. I know that, again, if you're buying in Georgia as an investor, typically you can't claim homestead. So if you can't claim homestead exemptions, you pay more than a person that might live next to you, that might be a homeowner occupier. They get exemptions. And typically you don't get your exemption. So if you buy a property, typically you file for exemption January through April in Georgia. However, if you just buy a home, say you buy a home in March and you file for that exemption, the exemption itself will not kick in until the following year. So you cannot be like, oh, I bought a home in February and I closed in March and I'm gonna file my exemption and I'm gonna go right off the bat and get these exemptions for like homesteads and everything. No. Typically, depending on what county you're in, because it is county based, but typically is you have to wait a year for those exemptions to kick in. And I think a lot of it is because you have not so many people in these positions to kind of move the paperwork, process the paperwork, because it's still, some of the stuff is still being done manually. So they're saying if they get more people in these areas, then they could hopefully be able to, I guess it only seems like they could maybe help with the property tax situation. I don't know. Alex said, sounds like government bloat to me. you said it sounds like a bunch of bloat. Eli, it sounds like a bunch of crap. There are channels on how to pronounce city names locally. Sounds like Iowa, Georgia is much like Illinois. Okay, I have to check it out then. I have to check it out. Hey, what's going on, Ms. H? How you doing? How you doing? Thanks for joining us. So yeah, so that's what's kind of happening. And around here says the office estimated that approximately $27 billion in property value was awaiting processing under existing staffing levels. It projected that $11 billion to $13 billion could remain off the annual assessment roll, deferring roughly $120 million in property tax revenue. This backlog defers an estimate of $120 million in property tax revenue, impacting public safety, education, infrastructure, social services. The budget reads immediate investment in staffing and resources is critical to prevent further financial strain. So I wonder though too, if you hire more people in these positions, does that then make you have people got to pay more property taxes, because property taxes pay for certain parts of different governments in different cities and towns. So I don't know. Don't let me get the line. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so basically they're saying that because of them not having enough people in these areas to kind of help to work on these different permits, ownership transfers, all these things. As far as that is why property taxes are moving the way they're moving in these particular areas and counties. So let me know your thoughts. Is interesting, but I figured, I was like, let me just bring that up a little bit and see what you guys are thinking about that. And then we will end the night off with this. Miss H is here. Yes, Miss H is here. Late to the party. Yes, that's okay. Hey, it's okay. Rather be. Let's see. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is in regards to for short sales, foreclosures. We kind of hit on this before. And so this article is by Realtor.com. It says short sales are rising as underwater homeowners try to dodge foreclosures. This was produced July 16, 2026. It says, although short sales remain relatively rare, they have been gradually creeping up as underwater homes seek ways to avoid foreclosure, with a handful of mid-price markets seeing the highest concentration of these deals. And it's classified, it tells you what a short sale is. It's a real estate transaction in which financially distressed homeowner sells their property for less than the balance remaining on their mortgage. So they're selling it for less than what they owe on their mortgage. In this scenario, the lender agrees to accept an amount lower than the outstanding loan to recoup a portion of the debt faster without being bogged down in a lengthy, costly foreclosure process. So yeah, so you, in order to get a short sale approved, you have to talk to the lender. They have to approve, say, short sale. Typically, there are some requirements around before you can get a short sale. Or have a short sale occur, but again, talk to your lender. They can break those things down to you as well. Sometimes they want you to be behind in payments and blah, 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 blah. While a short sale is a voluntary process initiated by the homeowner, a foreclosure is involuntary. It occurs when the lender legally repossesses and sells the property after a homeowner defaults on mortgage payments, which we all kind of know. It says foreclosures outnumber short sales by more than 2-to-1 margin, and the total short sales remain low nationwide compared to historical levels, according to new Realtor.com report released on Thursday. So yes, short sales are still comparatively low. Foreclosures are still comparatively low outside of, from this era to several eras before, as far as time, and especially during the housing crisis that occurred in 07, 08. But we will show that chart real quick as well. Alex said they need more employees to handle the complaints. I agree. It seems like that's what the article is trying to talk about. They need more employees there. Just wonder if them getting more employees, will it then turn around and make them try to, raise costs as well, because now they got more people to pay on the staff. So that'll be interesting, which in turn will generate more complaints. The system works. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, please don't forget to hit the like button. Please, if you guys are joining us now, hit the like button. It helps to push us through the algorithm and allows more people to enjoy this conversation. And then also we'll give you more videos around real estate conversations if this is something you're interested in. Remember to hit the like. Yes, thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, my dad. I appreciate you guys. We got 12 watching, only 7 likes. Come on, you guys, give us at least 12 likes. Even if you're just popping in just to hit the like button and leave. I appreciate it. Even if you want to, fast forward me or put me on mute. All right, so it says right here, short sales hit peak in Great Recession, fall afterwards. So it breaks down right here. Foreclosures are, again, the REO, real estate owned by the bank. So these are foreclosures that were sent back to the bank. So there's the all in blue, and then it says short sale. So it shows you in 2006, the short sales were right here. And they're showing you like where it's at now. So as you can see, it's still comparatively low, 2006 with short sales and foreclosures. And it's been comparatively low for the last several years outside of what happened during this time. However, they are saying that, of course, we're seeing, it occur in some places. As you guys know, I've been on here, we talked about this plenty of times, how we are seeing some foreclosures in the Metro Atlanta area. We're seeing foreclosures, we're seeing bankruptcies, we're seeing short sales. People are going through some of these distresses right now. It says nearly 30,000 short sales took place across the U.S. in 2025, accounting for just 0.6% for all closings and 28% of distressed home sales, the report found. These numbers are far below the post-Great Recession peak of 2012, when short sales made up nearly 9% of the housing market. At the time, lenders and federal programs such as Home Affordable Foreclosure Alternatives Initiative stirred underwater borrowers towards short sales to offload homes with negative equity. So they were trying to basically say they were trying to get more people to do short sales instead of doing foreclosures, just so they can kind of recoup some of the money, if possible, from that particular borrower. Well, not the borrower, but from the sale in regards to what the borrower had borrowed. Then the market recovered, explains Realtor.com. Of course, we all know that the market recovered. And of course, outside that recovery, because again, some of what happened during this great financial crisis or crash situation in 2007, 2008, is that these markets rebounded. Some of them, it took about 10 years. Like I said, in some parts of Metro Atlanta, it took about until 2019. So 12 years, 11, 12 years. And then when we saw the pandemic occurred, everybody's home property value appreciated even more. MHOA, hit the like button too. Yes, MHOA, hit the like button as well. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, don't feel shy to subscribe to it. Appreciate you being here. Homeowners rebuilt equity. Short sales faded along with foreclosures in the crisis era. Programs wounded down. I don't know if that's supposed to be wind down. I don't know. Today, short sales are a small corner of the market, but a growing one. From 2023 to 2024, short sales transactions ticked up 4%, but the pace has since quickened. Transactions rose 10% between 2024 and 2025, and 16% in the first quarter of 2026. All right, so this is right here. It says short sale hotspots revealed. So this is kind of showing where these short sales are kind of popping up in 2026, where they're kind of seeing a little bit more of volume in short sales. So we're seeing over here, we got California. What's this? What's above here? Is this Washington? I don't know. Don't beat me up. I'm like, what's the state right here? I think is this Idaho? Let me see. I gotta look at my map. This is bad. This is why you need. I'm like, I know my geography, but I might be off. All right, we got Florida here. We got California here. I'm trying to remember if this is Washington or Oregon. Or no, I might be wrong. Is this Washington? Y'all let me know. Y'all know more about the geography than me. Let me see. U.S. maps. That's a shame. I'm like, what state is that? That's probably not even Oregon either. Washington. Okay, that's Washington. Okay. I was like, is that Washington or Oregon? All right, Washington. This is Idaho. I believe this is Idaho right here. Right? We got California. We got Florida. We got Michigan. Looks like short sales are happening in Michigan. I think right above. What else we got? Look like is this Colorado? I don't know. Wait, this is California. I'm like, that's Nevada, Utah. I think, is that Utah or Colorado? This is Colorado, I think. I think it's Colorado. I believe Colorado. And then I think this is New Mexico. As far as New Mexico, so these are some of the states. Don't get me wrong, it's probably down here, and I'm all reading up here trying to figure it out. And look, it's already at the bottom. I'm like, is this Colorado? Is this New Mexico? All right, so it says Lakeland, Florida. It says short sale share of listings 6.7%. Medium listing price is $331,000. Number 2 on the list is Colorado Springs, Colorado, 5.8%. Medium's $498,000. Putting in Connecticut. It says 5.6%. So Connecticut is kind of seeing some short sales. Colorado again. And we got California. We got Washington, California, Connecticut, Michigan. So these are the top 10 where they're saying short sales are kind of popping up percentage-wise. So you guys can kind of see what it is. Yeah, you're right, Alex. Okay. He said, Coach, our AI is taking my job. I'm training it right now. Yeah, I had a friend too that was training the AI to literally turn around, and they got rid of my friend, and because they created the AI and the AI took his job. Washington. Okay, thank you, Alex. I was like, is that Washington? Trying to make sure. Kotek seat the Bay Area in Sacramento. Okay, yeah, Washington, Oregon. Okay, yep. All right. He said Pablo. I don't know if I said it right. Okay, Oregon below. Okay, I was trying to make sure. I was like, is that the right on my maps? I'm like, don't beat me up for my geography. It says, although short sales make up a minuscule the national housing market, 10 mid-size and mid-price U.S. markets stand out for having the highest concentration of short sale listings. Lakeland, Florida, as we mentioned above. So basically they're saying a lot of Florida, Connecticut, Colorado kind of are making up a lot of these short sales, and it just talks more about that down here. It says in Lakeland, the stock of for sale homes jumped 60% over 3 years. Inventory rose 65%. And Pueblo, or is it Pablo? I don't know if I'm saying it right. And more than 130% in Putnam, all while prices have stagnated or decreased. And so that's what I think we'll probably see in the Metro Atlanta area as well. He said, AKA Pewtown. What we'll see, and what I'm kind of seeing in Metro Atlanta as well, we're seeing a stagnant of like prices, or we're seeing a decrease in home prices. And every now and then, again, depending on where you're at, because every area is very local. Home prices are local to the area, to where people want to be at. So you might see some places where home prices might be kind of trending up a little bit, like say in Johns Creek, some parts of Johns Creek in Metro Atlanta, home prices kind of are staying elevated. They're kind of trending up a little bit because that's a spot where certain people like to kind of be at. But then if you come, let's just say you go into South Fulton, some areas of South Fulton, if you go into Clayton County, home prices might be flat or they might be trending down. So it just depends on where you're at. And so that's what you guys should look at as well in your city and your state to kind of see what things are doing, how they're trending. But let's go down here. It says silver lining for homeowners. So let's give you guys a silver lining, because I want to end on a good note, not a bad note. I don't want everybody to leave off of this, live feeling depressed and sad. I feel like I'll be making people, making people like depressed from all this daggone housing data and this information that they're writing about. It says silver lining for homeowners. So if you're a homeowner, according to Steffens, what draws distressed homeowners in Lakeland to short sales is that the process is less damaging to their credit than a foreclosure. So if you are currently going through a short sale, you might want to kind of explore. I mean, if you're about to be foreclosed, if possible, you might want to try to explore a short sale. It can help you, as far as like he stated, do lesser damage to your credit if possible. It allows them to clean their credit up in a shorter time frame to hopefully purchase again down the road. Additionally, because banks are often less efficient at processing short sales than foreclosure, the process can stretch several months and even up to a year, allowing homeowners to continue to live in their properties during the transition period. Some lenders tend to work with you more versus a foreclosure that is more intense situation with little to no flexibility for the homeowner. As Lakeland also landed on the top 10 list of markets with the greatest total value of short sales in May, claiming the 8th spot nationwide with 308 listings with a metro population of roughly 875,000. Lakeland is a clear outliner and a ranking dominated America's major metros, including Tampa, Florida, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, and Miami. So my thing is that I don't know anything about Lakeland, Florida. So if anybody is in the Lakeland, Florida area, sees this later on down the line, let me know. I'm thinking maybe they're having a lot of short sales in that area because they probably overbuilt and have new constructions, or maybe flips over there that they sold, and a lot of these people can't afford it no more. And because they just bought recently within the last couple of years and prices trending down, they're seeing that short sale. Because most times the people bought in the 90s or early 2000s, typically, unless you refinance over and over and over again, you shouldn't be short selling or underwater, especially with the appreciation we seen during the pandemic. So I'm guessing these people would be newer homeowners. And I'm just going to guess. I could be wrong. But yeah, so hopefully that will end you guys on a good note. If you do see yourself going through that, if you see yourself in a foreclosure situation, if you feel like you're in this, you can't sustain it, if possibly try to sell it. If not, maybe explore the short sale route. If that's something, of course, you have to talk to your lender. Again, I know some people, might just want to sell because they don't want to pay property taxes no more and they don't have a mortgage. So, but just make sure in this market, as we all know, make sure you are pricing correctly, because you want to make sure you can sell your property. All right, Lang said, it's great information and you're giving us the scoop we need to know. It's the YouTube real estate news. yeah, I'm trying to give you guys, give you some real estate news as far as what's happening It's a gentleman I watch on here. He comes on every day at 9 o'clock in the morning. He goes from like 9 to 9:30. Oh, maybe I can do that. Maybe I just do morning real estate stuff and only be on there for half an hour. But I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to stay consistent with that every day. So I was like, so Sunday right now, I'll just have to be where we're at. We try to do Wednesdays too, but it wasn't working. Alex said Lakeland, Florida is warm and they grow oranges. Okay, wow. Okay, so they grow a lot of oranges down Lakeland. I've never been to Lakeland, Florida, so that's good to know. Hey, no nepotism. So, but thank you guys for joining me tonight. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here with us. And hopefully you'll join us next Sunday. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you joined us tonight, don't forget to give us a like. And if you're watching it after the video and you want to comment below, don't be scared to comment. If you also feel like you want to reach out to me, you can. I will go back and put my email and phone number inside the caption box, along with the article that I said I will link as well, as far as the data centers. And another article I said, the U.S. history, so you guys can read more about that. All right, you guys have a good night, and I will see you next Sunday. He said Pablo is weird and produces electricity and steel. Okay. All right. Thank you. Real estate with the T. Hey, T, how you doing? Great live. Appreciate you being here, T. Thank you for joining. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday night. But they do grow chili. Okay. All right. Take care, you guys. Have a wonderful night. See you next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern.